Hi, Johnna.
Hi, Kathy.
How are you?
I'm great. How about you?
I'm fine.
Good,
Are
good.
you
Sun
ready to?
shining.
Oh, yes.
Life is good.
Oh, yes, it is. I'll go ahead and put up your first slide.
All right, let's get started, everybody. All right, so as you all know, my name is Johnna Miller, and I'm an employee of Ohio State University through the Ross County Extension Office and the Ohio SNAP Ed program. And tonight we're going to go south of the border in a minute or two, maybe three or four, and we're going to talk a little bit about meatless proteins. So really quick, easy recipes, and we're going to do four of them tonight. So it's going to be kind of a marathon. I want you all to kind of time me and to see if we can get this all done in a half an hour, okay? Want to review there real quick, our celebrateyourplate.org. A couple of the recipes we're doing tonight come from that website, so make sure you're going there and checking out all the goodies they've got on there. They're making updates every couple of weeks on the website right now as far as adding recipes, so check it out frequently. You're going to find some really good stuff there. And then the choosemyplate.gov is for anything nutrition related as far as the 5 food groups. It's a good guide to use. Of course, any special diets, any special things you need as far as your diet, you should be consulting your healthcare professional, not me, because that's not my job. I'm not that qualified, but make sure that you're checking with your healthcare professional for any special dietary needs, but you can always use the myplate.gov as a guideline for any health individual. Okay, Kathy, if you want to go to perfect timing. Look at you go, girl. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about plant-based proteins, and these are going to be your nuts and your seeds and your beans and potatoes and oatmeal. We don't necessarily have to eat meat to get protein. I mean, the biggest source in our diet of protein is going to be the chicken, the fish, the beef, the pork, but you can also supplement the proteins by eating a handful of nuts. You can eat a large potato. You can eat some oatmeal, any kind of beans, and that's going to include black beans, kidney beans, chickpeas, edamame, black-eyed peas. And then your nuts are going to be in there too, your almonds, your walnuts, and then your nut butters, like the almond butter and the peanut butter, are going to be a good source to get those proteins in your diet. If you have kids, a lot of times it's hard to get those young ones to really eat meat. It takes them a while to develop a taste for meat. So this is a good way to supplement the proteins in their diet. So always keep those in mind. You can get them in there by giving them a peanut butter sandwich. That's the reason that PB&J is a good thing in the lunchbox. All right, Kathy, if you want to go on to the next slide there. So just how much protein do we actually need a day? That amount is going to vary. It depends on your age, your gender, your level of activity. So a person who is not very active at all could get by maybe with 2 to 3 ounce equivalents. So that means like a half a cup of beans is going to be an ounce, it's going to be an ounce equivalent. A small piece of chicken, about the size of the palm of your hand, is going to be a 3 ounce equivalent of protein. So depending on your activity level, if you're like myself, I'm not a total couch potato, but I am not an athlete by any means either. So I could probably get by with 3 to 4 ounces of protein in my diet a day. Now, if you're going to the gym and you're working out hard 3 or 4 times a week, or you're a runner, or you're training for a marathon or something like that, you can get into needing the 6, 7, 8 ounces of protein in your diet a day, because we need it for the lean muscle mass in our body. So, you need to kind of keep in mind how active you are as to how much protein you need. So in general, an ounce of meat, poultry, or fish is going to be an ounce serving. A quarter cup of cooked beans, 1 egg is going to be an ounce serving. A tablespoon of peanut butter is going to be an ounce serving. So it really doesn't take that much. We think we have to have a lot of protein, and it takes a lot to get it in there. If you have 2 eggs for breakfast, and then you have a cup of beans and something for lunch, and then a small piece of chicken for dinner, you've got all the protein you need in your diet for the day. So it's really not that hard to get in there, so don't think it's something you really have to work at. All right, Kathy, if you want to go ahead, I want to get started with these recipes. And I want you all to kind of time me a little bit here, because we're going south of the border in a minute. So I want to show you, I want to start off with, and you guys have probably seen me make these before if you've ever been to one of my live classes for sure, but I'm going to make some homemade tortilla chips. And all you're going to need for that is some cooking spray, some whole wheat tortillas, and some handy dandy kitchen shears. So let me move you over here so you can see what I'm doing here just a little better. Okay, so let me get my recipe out of the way here. All these is I'm going to take a couple. The recipe calls for 6 8-inch whole wheat tortillas. Well, I'm only going to make these for my husband and myself, so I'm just going to do 2 of them, okay? So I'm going to take these tortillas, I'm going to layer them together, and I'm just going to cut them in half, okay? And then I'm going to cut them in half again. And then I'm going to take that quarter, and I'm going to cut it in half. And then this quarter and cut it in half. And then I'm just going to lay these out on my baking sheet here. Try to keep them so they're not touching. And you got to kind of get creative, kind of like working a puzzle, to make sure you utilize your space, because they do take up a lot of space pretty quickly. And then I'm just going to, come on, I know the last one we're doing there. I'm just going to take my cooking spray, and I'm going to just lightly spray the tops of these, okay? Just one little squick. And I've already got my oven preheated to 400 degrees, so I'm just going to take these, and I'm going to pop them in the oven, okay? So there they go, into the oven. Now, these will burn really fast. So the recipe calls for 8 to 12 minutes. There is no way you're going to cook these for 12 minutes. So I'm going to set my timer for about 4 minutes. And then at 4 minutes, I'm going to take them out, turn them, put them back in the oven for 4 minutes, and I'm going to have some nice crispy chips. Okay? So let me get my burner on for my refried beans that we're going to make here. Now, I know you can buy a can of refried beans really easy in the store, but usually when you buy them in the store already made, they're going to contain things like heavy fats, lard, shortening, just to make them thick. So what I've got here is a can of just plain pinto beans, no salt added, and I'm going to open them up with my handy dandy can opener. And then I'm going to put them in this colander that I've got sitting over here in this bowl, and I'm going to let them drain, okay? All right. Now, if these were a salt-added bean, I would actually rinse them to get some of that salt off of there, okay? So now I'm going to take an onion here, and I'm going to cut it in half so I got a flat surface, and I'm going to mince up this onion. And I've got my skillet heating up over here, so I want to make sure that I got a hot skillet, and then I'm going to put in some olive oil. But I want to mince this onion up because, I mean, obviously you don't want big chunks of onion in your refried beans, but you like to have that extra flavor in there, right? So I'm just going to walk my knife through this, and I'm going to mince it up real good. And you guys have probably heard me say before that it's always, when you mince up an onion or garlic like this, it serves 2 purposes. It makes it small so it doesn't have those big chunks in your recipe, and it also releases those juices, which is going to be where your flavor is going to come from, okay? So this is why you always mince an onion if you're putting it into like a chicken salad or a tuna salad. That way you're going to get that flavor out of there, and you're not going to have those big chunks. And it's a good way too. I mean, I can remember I had a nephew growing up that if he saw an onion in something, he would sit for hours and pick until he had every single piece of onion out of that dish. So I just learned that when he came to my house to eat, I minced the onions. He couldn't find them. So I'm just mean that way, okay? All right, so let me move you all over here so you can see what I'm doing at the stove. All right, so I've got my skillet heating up. Got my beans draining. And I'm going to put about, let's see, I think it calls for 1 tablespoon of oil. So I just have some olive oil here. I'm going to put 1 tablespoon of olive oil in my skillet. And I want to get that. The skillet's already getting pretty warm there, so it shouldn't take it long to heat up. And then I'm going to take my onion that I've minced up. I'm going to put it in that oil. And you want to cook that down until it gets to a translucent state, okay? And it's already starting to sizzle, so it won't take it very long in minced form like that. Okay. So the other ingredients in this recipe is going to be some chopped onion, and then it's going to call for a clove of garlic or a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, and then a 1/4 teaspoon of ground cumin, or if you like them a little spicier, you can use a 1/2 teaspoon of chili powder in there. I really like the taste of cumin, so I'm going to use the cumin in that. So when you drain your beans, you're going to make sure, like you saw me drain them in this bowl, I want to hang on to that juice, because once I have these beans mashed up, they might tend to get a little dry. So I want to make sure that I save that juice so I can put some of that moisture back in there if I need to. Okay, there's our chips ready to be turned. So I'm going to pull them out of the oven while my onion's browning up there. Ooh, fogged me up. And I'm going to take a spatula and I'm going to just flip these chips over, okay? Be careful you don't burn your fingers, because they're going to be a little warm, obviously. And you can do it really quick if you're brave, like I'm doing right now. And you can see that they're getting a little bit brown already. Whoops, lost that one. So I want to take a little bit more of my cooking spray and just a real quick spritz across the top of those again, so they don't burn up in the oven. And then I'm going to pop them back in there. I think these are browned up pretty good. I'm probably going to pop these back in there for about 3 minutes is all we need to do, okay? All right, so setting my timer for 3 minutes. And that gave me just enough time to get my onions, so it's starting to turn translucent there. So I'm going to take my beans that I've drained. I'm going to put them in the skillet. I'm going to add in a 1/4 teaspoon of my garlic powder. I could use a clove of garlic chopped, minced if I had that. I just don't have any on hand right now. And then a 1/4 teaspoon of my cumin. If you've never used cumin, you might want to go light with it until you learn if you like the taste of it. I personally love it, but some people are not big fans. So I'm going to mix the seasonings around in there. And then I'm going to take the back of my spoon as these beans are heating, and I'm going to start mashing these things. That's how we're going to get our refried beans. Now, you can do this with a potato masher, which actually would probably work, but I don't want to scratch my skillet, so I'm going to use the back of this spoon, okay? If you want to get them really soft, you could take them out of here and you could put them into like a blender or something, but you know, I'm not really that picky. I kind of like the chunks in my refried beans, so that's not that big of a deal. So as you can see, I'm mashing these down, and these were just regular pinto beans. So, you know, if you make soup beans, you could do this with kidney beans. You could do it with black beans. They would obviously be a different color, so you might have to explain to everybody why your refried beans are so dark if you use a dark red bean or a black bean. But you can do this just fine. Okay, as you can see, they're kind of sticky, right? So that's why I'm going to take this broth off of these beans, and I'm going to put just maybe a tablespoon of that broth back in there, and maybe a couple. And then I can mix that around, and you're going to get that creamy refried bean consistency. And look how fast that was, guys. And as I said, when you buy them in the store, if you look at the label, a lot of times they're going to have things in there like lard or shortening or animal fat or something like that that's going to be added to them to give them that creamy consistency that we really don't need that fat in our diet, right? Okay, so I'm going to turn those off. So there's our beans. Got those. Set those to the side. All right, so the next thing we're going to make, we're just about, let me check my chips here. Yep, time to take the chips out. Like I said, you don't want to put the chips in the oven and walk away from them because they will brown up really super quick. Looky there, guys, and they are nice and hard, okay? So these are going to be really good. You can, if you want to, you can sprinkle them with a little bit of salt. I don't, because I'm going to put these, you know, dip them in some salsa, so you don't really need the salt in there. All right, so our next recipe, am I doing good on time, guys? I'm trying to do this quick. Okay, our next recipe is going to be a corn salsa. Okay, and you can't get any simpler than this recipe. It's a tapas corn salsa, and it's going to call for 1/2 cup of sweet corn, unsalted. And I actually didn't want to open up this whole can of salt because I'm going to make half of a recipe because I'm just making this for my husband and myself. So I've got some frozen corn that I sold out here. Same thing. So I've got a 1/4 cup of the corn. Let me grab a spoon. And then for the full recipe, it calls for 1 1/4 cup, 1 1/2 cup of chunky salsa. So I've just got a regular salsa here. I'm going to do 3/4 because that's 1 1/2. And this is a recipe that you may want to make ahead just a little bit because you want to let it set, and so the corn will soak up into the salsa and let the flavors mix a little bit. Okay. But this is a really good way to get some corn into your diet, to get some extra veggies into your diet, as long as with the salsa. And this is really good with these chips that I just made. So there's our salsa. All right, so there's 1, 2, 3 recipes down. Look how quick that was, guys. And our last one is going to be a 1-minute burrito. Okay, so I know you can't see with the glare. And this comes from the Celebrate Your Plate website. And the recipe calls for, again, a whole wheat tortilla. And you're just going to lay that onto a plate here. And then it calls for some refried beans, which, this is saying to use no salt altered black beans or low sodium refried beans. Well, we've got our handy dandy little already homemade refried beans here. So I'm going to put that in the center of my burrito. Okay, and just you're going to fill this in just like you would a regular burrito. So there's our refried beans in there. And then we're going to top that with just a little bit of cheese that I've got setting over here. This is just some low-fat cheddar cheese. I'm going to sprinkle some of that on there. Okay. And then we're going to put a little bit of the salsa on. Not a lot because we're going to have the salsa with our corn anyway. Okay. I'm going to use that for the chips though, okay? All right. And then we're just going to pop this in the microwave for about, it says 60 seconds, but really since the beans are already hot, since we already made our beans, it doesn't have to go in for the 60 seconds. You're just going to put it in there for about 30 seconds, long enough to start melting the cheese, okay? So there it goes. It's going to be in there for a second. And then I've got some shredded lettuce, and I cheated. I bought the bag stuff. I'll be honest with you. And then you can always put more cheese on it. And then a lot of people, myself included, like sour cream. Well, we're going to use some low-fat Greek yogurt instead of sour cream tonight. It's going to taste exactly the same. If you haven't tried using low-fat Greek yogurt instead of sour cream, it's got the same consistency. And when you put it on a dish like this, you don't even really, I've fooled people before thinking that this is sour cream. No, it's yogurt, because the Greek yogurt has got a strong flavor just like a sour cream does.
It really, really does.
Did you try it, Kathy?
No, that's why I'm asking.
It really does. I'm not kidding you. My husband is a diehard sour cream fan.
Me too.
But he will eat the Greek yogurt. And a couple times I've used it, and he doesn't even know I've done it to him.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Oh,
well,
I forgot
to try that.
I forgot to chop up my fresh tomatoes here. I always try to use the cherry tomatoes this time of year just because they have a better flavor, I think, than the greenhouse tomatoes that you're getting in the grocery. So in my mind, I know it's usually a little more expensive to buy that tray of cherry tomatoes, but it's just they taste so much better. Greenhouse tomatoes, I'm a tomato snob, I'll admit it. Okay, so we're going to sprinkle some of the tomatoes on there. We're going to put a little bit of lettuce on there. And then we're going to sprinkle maybe just a little bit more cheese. And then a blob. And it's got to be, make sure you don't get sweetened yogurt, okay? It's got to be plain Greek yogurt.
Okay.
I don't think vanilla yogurt would taste very good on there.
Probably not.
I don't think you wouldn't believe me at all if I let you do that, would you? Okay.
No.
Now, a good thing about this too, when you put it in the microwave, it softens your burrito up, so it's going to actually wrap up very well for you. So there we go. We've got our burrito. We've got our homemade chips, and we've got our homemade salsa on the side for that. Look at there, guys.
Yum.
It's dinner. And how long did that take us?
20 minutes.
About 20 minutes. Look at that. And we did it more than 30. I thought we was going to be stretched to do it in 30 minutes. But 4 recipes in 20 minutes.
That's awesome.
Super, super easy. You've got your whole grains in here with your tortillas and your chips. You've got 3 or 4 different types of vegetables. You've got your tomatoes and your salsa. You've got your lettuce. You've got your protein and your beans. I mean, we're really well-rounded meal, okay? So there we go, guys. I'm proud of myself. I didn't think I could do that in 30 minutes.
Yes, you're good, Johnna.
All right, guys. Well, I hope you give this a try. These chips, these are great. These won't last 5 minutes in my house. That's the reason I only make 2 of them at a time, because I will eat on them until they're gone. I love these things. I've made them for a lot of live classes, and people just go crazy how good they are. They got like the whole wheat tortilla gives them a kind of a sweet taste, and with the salsa, it's perfect. You need to really try those, and super duper easy.
Yeah, it is. So.
All right, guys.
All right. Well, thank you again, Johnna. That was very, very quick and looks yummy. So
I can't wait to eat it. So
yes,
I will.
Okay.
I'll be back next week to hang out with y'all. If you have any questions, put them in the chat, and I'll check throughout the week with any questions you might have, or you can always ask Miss Kathy, and she'll make sure I see them. Okay? Have a good week.
You too.